Sure, age is just a number, but some of those numbers are pretty big. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 actors who were way too old for their roles. For this list, we're looking at actors who were obviously too old for their roles, whether it was a decade older or more than that, as long as they still convincingly played the age they were supposed to. This has nothing to do with the performance itself, although the difference in age often impacts the suspension of disbelief. Quick note, only movies will be taken into account, so Jason Earls can breathe a sigh of relief.
Now y'all just sit here and act like you're two perfect little angels who always listen to their father. Just pretend.
Number 10, Dustin Hoffman, Marathon Man. Thomas Babe Levy is a graduate history student and an aspiring marathon runner who inadvertently gets caught up in a conspiracy involving diamonds, Laurence Olivier, and spies.
He started out with gold naturally, but very quickly worked his way up to diamonds. Have you heard any of this before?
One of Dustin Hoffman's more fondly remembered performances, the actor famously ran 4 miles a day to prepare for the role.
Behind schedule?
Unfortunately, method acting can only take you so far, as Hoffman was 38 at the time of filming and hardly made for a convincing graduate student.
I'm told you are a graduate student. Brilliant, yes? You're an historian, and I'm part of history.
In this case, the age difference did not really hurt the final product, as Marathon Man is rightfully considered a classic. Number 9, Leslie Howard and Norma Shearer, Romeo and Juliet. Who better to portray the most famous fictional teenage couple of all time than two performers fit to play their parents?
Romeo!
Tis my soul that calls upon my name. How silver sweet sound lovers' tongues by night, like softest music to attending ears.
When cast in the role of the supposedly 13-year-old Juliet, Norma Shearer was almost 35 at the time of the film's release.
My ears have not yet drunk 100 words of bedtime's utterance, yet I know the sound. Art thou not Romeo and a Montague?
Not to feel left out, Romeo also suffered a sudden growth spurt. Going from his late teens, early 20s, the jury is still out on the precise age, to 43. If nothing else, at least they got the age gap between the characters right. The thing is, this early adaptation remains largely faithful to Shakespeare's original play, making the casting choice all that more jarring.
Good night. Good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow that I shall say good night till it be morrow.
Number 8, Stockard Channing, Grease. In a film filled with people well beyond their high school years, Stockard Channing stands as the most blatant one.
Well, here we are again.
Yeah, but this time we're seniors.
And we're gonna rule the school.
Betty Rizzo is the sarcastic leader of the Pink Ladies clique, a tough high school girl who drinks, smokes, and just does not give a damn.
Miss Goody Two-Shoes makes me want to barf.
Look at me, I'm Sandra Dee, lousy with virginity.
Channing is a lot of fun in the role, but considering Rizzo is presented as a sort of rebel without a cause, her older appearance somewhat contradicts the character's youthful persona.
There are worse things I could do than go with a boy or two.
In the 2016 TV version, the more appropriately aged Vanessa Hudgens was cast for the role, although she was still a decade too old.
Did you tell him we're having a sleepover, Riz?
Oh, Kaneki might ask what I was up to.
Oh, and since when have you got the hots for Kaneki?
Well, sometimes you want a guy who's willing to put up or shut up, you know?
Number 7, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man.
I'd like to tell you that's me next to her. Heck, I'd even take him.
Stop the bus!
That's me.
One of the most appealing parts about Peter Parker is that he's just your average relatable teenager. While Tobey Maguire nails those first two qualities, he kind of comes up short in the teenage department, being a bit too long on the tooth. Maguire was 27 in the first Spider-Man film, despite the fact that his Peter Parker is supposed to be a high school senior.
Say chess! Chess!
Peter. Oh, darling. I'm so proud of you. You look so handsome.
The sequels closed the gap a little between Peter's age and Maguire's, but it's hard to forget how out of place Toby looked walking the halls of Midtown High.
Wow, great reflexes. Thanks.
No problem.
Number 6, Alan Ruck, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
When Cameron was in Egypt's land, let my Cameron go.
Right off the bat, Cameron is the absolute best, and Ruck knocks it out of the park. But dude, you are not fooling anyone. 30 at the time, Ruck's Cameron is a 17-year-old who spends most of his days trying to invent symptoms to avoid going to high school.
Hello?
Cameron, babe, what's happening?
Very little.
How do you feel?
Shredded.
As Ferris is extremely popular and over the top, Cameron's mature loner is a perfect foil for Matthew Broderick to work with.
If anybody needs a day off, it's Cameron. He has a lot of things to sort out before he graduates. Can't be wound up this tight and go to college. His roommate will kill him.
In some ways, the fact that Ruck was obviously older helped rather than hindered the character, as we totally believed he was out of touch with the times.
What is that?
Ferris Bueller, you're my hero.
Number 5, Shirley Henderson, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. While Myrtle Warren does not appear often, she plays a huge role in the story.
Oh, hello, Harry. Long time no see.
To avoid spoilers, Moaning Myrtle is the ghost of a Hogwarts pupil who had died in the mid-1940s. At most 15 years old, Moaning Myrtle appears once in a while to make Harry and Ron feel rather uncomfortable.
So, let's all throw books at Myrtle because she can't feel it. 10 points if you get it through her stomach. 50 points if it goes through her head.
One of Myrtle's most famous scenes is when she pops in on the hero while he's taking a bath. Shirley Henderson, the ghost's actress, was 40 at the time of the film's release, while Daniel Radcliffe was only 16.
Almost all the bubbles were gone.
Besides Henderson obviously not passing for a teenager, it ended up feeling icky rather than funny.
Wait till you see. It's awful.
Number 4, Matt Damon, Behind the Candelabra. The man behind Jason Bourne is one of many talents, but Turning Back Time is not one of them. Steven Soderbergh's Liberace biopic is filled with sex, drugs, and music.
That's what I'm all about. I love to give people a good time.
With the focus being the pianist's relationship with Scott Thorson, portrayed by Matt Damon.
I have a great idea. Why don't you come work for me?
Damon was 43 at the time, while Scott is meant to be only 18, and the difference is impossible to ignore. Thorson is presented as a naive counterpart to Liberace's indulgent worldliness, and their romance falls apart when Scott gets older and the musician seeks out younger men. As Damon was so obviously not a teenager, it was hard to believe that Liberace was interested. Number 3, Diana Ross, The Wiz. An urban reimagining of the novel The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, not the 1939 Judy Garland movie, Dorothy is a 24-year-old school teacher who lives in a small Harlem apartment.
Girl, do you know you're 24 years old and you've never been south of 125th Street?
This version of the heroine is extremely shy, introverted, and mousy, characteristics not usually associated with Diana Ross.
Come on, he's on down the road. Come on, he's on down the road.
In her mid-30s at the time, the charismatic singer received a fair amount of criticism for her performance, which effectively marked the end of her feature screen career.
Maybe there's a chance for me to go back now that I have some direction.
While 10 years might not be too big of a hurdle for other characters, Ross came across as neurotic and pathetic rather than lacking confidence in herself. Number 2, Barbra Streisand, Yentl. Based on a play adaptation of a short story, Yentl is all about Barbra Streisand.
No wonder she's pretty. What else should she be? She hasn't a worry.
Why should she worry?
Not only does she take on the lead role, the actress directed, co-wrote, and co-produced this epic musical drama.
It all began the day I found that from my window I could only see a piece of sky.
Originally, Yentl was a teenager, and despite Streisand upping her age to 26 for the movie, she was still too old for the role, being just over 40 years old. As this is a coming-of-age story, which deals with themes of religious education and independence, a clearly mature protagonist reduced some of the plot's impact.
Don't you ever think about marriage?
No, I just think about my studies.
I admire that in a man.
That's very good. Well, good night.
Still a great film, and Streisand's direction is fantastic, but a younger actress would have fit better. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Roger Moore, A View to a Kill.
Well, are you, buying or selling?
Selling?
Horses.
Oh, no, I'm not interested in horses.
Knowing when to call it quits is far from easy, something Roger Moore learned the hard way. After 6 outings as the world's most famous spy, A View to a Kill went a step too far. Almost 60 at the time, the talented actor gave his all, but the age difference was too massive to take seriously. While Sean Connery was also too old for Never Say Never Again, that movie at least acknowledged that Bond was older. A View to a Kill lacks that self-awareness. Even Moore himself felt he'd run his course as Bond, stating in a 2007 interview that he was, quote, only about 400 years too old for the part.
Oh, Commander Bond.
Call me James.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from Watch Mojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. A View to a Kill lacks that self-awareness.